That's right, baby. It's Tuesday, 8:30. It's JB time on your radio. Josh Brisco, your host of pre- and postgame for the Chiefs Radio Network. Every game day. Going to have a late one this Monday, but that's okay. You get Sunday to relax for the first time in a while, as we are now joined by Josh Brisco. I'm going to tell you right now, I think the play of the game on Sunday was the Leo Chenal catch or the interception against Mark Andrews. What say you, Mr. Brisco?
I simply, with no disrespect whatsoever to Leo Chenal, who I think is a remarkable athlete, I simply didn't know that he could do that. So I have no problem making that the play of the game. And look, the way the rest of that game went, I don't know if it was a laugher or not the whole time through, but in retrospect, like, that was a dominant performance, right? Without that Chenal pick, we're talking about the Ravens marching down the field for the second consecutive drive with a lead, by the way. So I really do think that's the inflection point.
Well, yeah, it was the one that turned the game, and then the fumble a couple of minutes later, and here we go. We're off to the races. And obviously a get-well game for the Chiefs. What did you see from an offensive standpoint that you think, okay, this is just the beginning, and now this is going to make it even better from an offensive standpoint?
And that's the thing you have to differentiate, right? I mean, because the Ravens' defense, we know, was bad and injured. So, like, there is a conversation there. I don't think that that's unfair to mention. But also, I think the Chiefs deserve a lot of credit on a few levels. First of all, how many times over the last 3 years have we said, man, as long as the Chiefs can put this bad defense down, things will look okay? And they just never do it. I mean, the Taylor Swift game against the Bears was probably the last time that truly happened.
Yeah, that's what I said. That the last time we saw a performance like that is when Taylor came into our lives.
So I could have been playing defensive tackle for the Ravens, and I still would have said, like, hey, nice that the Chiefs actually put away that defense with 10 players on it. But I do think that the return of Xavier Worthy, we've been talking about this, obviously, since the moment he got injured. I think nationally people started to kind of see all the problems in the Chiefs' offense and go, well, how much can their number one and number two receivers, when Rasheed Rice comes back, how much can those guys really fix by themselves? There are so many problems. They've been so inefficient and so ineffective on the ground. Well, now we've seen it. Xavier Worthy, the speed that he brings, even being able to play off of a guy like Tyquan Thornton in more of a part-time role, but still a heavy role now that I hope continues, being able to open things up for Hollywood and Juju and Travis Kelce more in the intermediate. It lets Hollywood's role change. Xavier Worthy is such a large domino in this offense because everybody else can move down a peg in terms of the weapons, and he has such a gravity about him with that speed that defenses have to know where he's at all times, more so than how they have to know where every fast receiver is. He's the fastest player in football, and the Ravens treated him that way, and I think we're going to have to see other teams follow suit.
Yeah, when we speak of Leo, I know the meme of Leonardo DiCaprio pointing at the TV from the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I did that when I saw Mahomes throw that dot to Xavier Worthy for about 25 yards down the sideline, because I brought this up earlier. Last year, Xavier Worthy's either too close to the sideline or runs like missteps the route or something. But that was one of those things that, like, we hadn't seen that sort of. I know we've seen Mahomes make deep throws to Thornton this year, but that touch pass, that read in the defense, seeing Marlon Humphrey come over one-on-one coverage and Mahomes like lighting up like a kid on Christmas morning and then dropping that in the bucket on a perfectly ran route on a guy that's over the shoulder, going to land, coming off an injury. I thought that was that moment where I was like, that's back, and that's something you love to see.
Then he's stretching the defense vertically. Mahomes back on the same page with him, and he's able to stretch it horizontally with the carry. And I think it was the very next play after the play you're talking about. They took another shot right over the top there. Maybe it was the play. I can't remember exactly. I think it was back-to-back shots there to Worthy down the sideline, where you go, oh, yeah, that is just a gear they have back again. Meanwhile, you have like the red zone throw to Juju for the touchdown that was just an absolute laser beam. I mean, like, launched out of Mahomes' hand. I don't know if we've got like next-gen data on that or not yet of how fast that football was going, but I can't imagine he's thrown a faster ball in a smaller area over the last year or so. That to me begins to see all of the pieces click into place in a way that is so exciting after the first few weeks we're just pulling teeth.
Well, and we're excited about the offense, Josh, but we really need to be excited about the defense because of all the injuries on defense. The Ravens were healthy on offense, and people were fearing, Isaiah Likely's going to come back. I looked at the box score. I didn't see his name in it. Last week, Sean Smith told us that Derrick Henry was washed. 8 carries, 30 yards or whatever he had, on the ground. Lamar Jackson quit in the middle of the game. So, we've got to give this defense a lot of credit because they took care of an offense that was at full strength. Regardless of what the defense was, that offense was still at full strength, and other than the first 15 scripted, they look like a JV team out there.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And they were rightfully being discussed as the best unit in this game between the two teams. If you would have told me before the game the Chiefs are going to score 37 points, I would have been really, really surprised. But like optimistic and hopeful. Oh, that's fantastic. If you would have told me the Ravens were putting up 20 and really 13 before total garbage time, I would have thought you were smoking. Like, that's just not a way that the Ravens have been controlled offensively yet this year, and it was an absolute bludgeoning that way. So it's another game for Steve Spagnuolo where you just have to tip your cap to an absolute lunatic back there, where he is sending things for Lamar Jackson, specifically that Leo pick where you've got Bolton blitzing and Chanel in coverage. I think it was, 5 unblocked pressures for Nick Bolton. You got to give credit to the player for making those pressures and being able to disguise his pre-snap stuff a little bit. He talked about that briefly after the game. But being able to have your Mike linebacker, your green dot, getting 5 uninterrupted paths to Lamar Jackson in this game, plus some of the mush rush stuff they were doing with kind of a tight spy from Leo where he wasn't spying Jackson at kind of the typical depth, but he was closer to the line of scrimmage, so kind of occupying a blocker but keeping a little bit of space to get an angle. It is just the next level in an unbelievable resume for Steve Spagnuolo against Lamar Jackson, against this Ravens offense, against several different versions of this Ravens offense. I don't think I could be any more impressed by what the Chiefs defense did. The secondary seems to be legitimately ready to go again, and that's without Christian Fulton. And even Najee Johnson, I know that, he had a rough year for most of last season, but at one point, that was your number 3 and 4 corner. Both of those guys are out. Noah Williams is playing really good ball. I have so few notes on the Chiefs defense. I do think you want to get more and more from your 4-man pass rush against other teams and other builds of offense. You don't want to always live in the complete blitz engage 8 lifestyle that Spags is so good at, but that's nitpicky, just kind of keeping an eye to the future. I have almost no notes at all for the Chiefs defense in this game on Sunday.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of with you on that. It was about as flawless a game, as you could potentially play out there. And you mentioned Noel Williams. I mean, he's ranked as the best defensive rookie in the NFL right now.
Yeah, and to me, again, absolute credit to the player, but the fact that we have seen with relatively incredible consistency that Steve Spagnuolo and Dave Merritt take young defensive backs from the mid-range of the NFL draft and turn them into starting caliber players, or at least heavy contributors, that is a remarkable thing. So I don't think Spags is probably putting all the same stuff on Noah Williams' plate that he's putting on Jalen Watson's plate, and certainly Trent McDuffie. He's a different kind of player on a literally and metaphorically speaking. But it is an unbelievable start for Williams, who if my memory serves, I think most of the talk about Noah Williams out of training camp was yeah, we'll see maybe week 6, week 8, give him some time, which again, a mid-round NFL draft pick, rookie trying to figure out how to work in a Spags defense. I wasn't asking for anything from Noah Williams early this season, not because I didn't like the player. I thought his tape in college made a ton of sense as a translation into Spags' defense, but I was just prepared to be patient. Well, the Chiefs couldn't afford to because Fulton's been banged up, and so all of a sudden, he's in there over Joshua Williams, climbing the depth chart, and grading out incredibly with what he's being asked to do. An absolute huge hit at the position in the draft where the Chiefs have been so stinking good, which again, I think is Brett Veach knowing what his defense wants in terms of the cornerback position, and then Spags and Dave Merritt being absolutely wizards in terms of developing these young guys.
I seriously worry what Trevor Lawrence is going to do with what Spags has dialed up against Jacksonville.
And what's it going to be? I really don't know. It could be anything. We've seen them go so blitz heavy with Hurts and Lamar, and I thought they might blitz a little bit with Russell Wilson. They did a couple of times, but it was much less. And you still figure out these ways to take away what they want to do. I'll be honest that I'm not too deep into the Jags just yet. They're one of those teams that kind of slides into the background, and you check them out and you go, okay, well, they've got some players. They're 3-1. How did that happen? And I got to say, it does feel pretty good for the Chiefs to be going on the road against a 3-1 opponent in prime time, and for me to be back in that space of you know what? The Chiefs are deserving favorites here on the road, and frankly, I expect them to win this game. The way the season started, you couldn't expect much of anything. Just get through it, and let's see how it turns out. Now with the Jags, this is a chance to really begin to even things out in the AFC in a way that I wasn't sure the Chiefs would be able to do this early in the season after starting 0-2.
No doubt about it, Brisco. We appreciate the time and enjoy Monday Night Madness as you get a late night here on the Chiefs Radio Network.
I'll exchange a late night Monday game for a full day of red zone any week at all. You're absolutely right with what you said earlier. I get my Sunday on a couch, and then I get the Chiefs and pre and post on Monday night. That's a pretty good long weekend for me. I will absolutely take that.
No doubt. Be easy, brother.